Imagine a situation where the stakes absolutely couldn't be higher. We are talking a literal life or death scenario, playing out in real time, thousands of miles away from any kind of rescue or backup. Today, we're diving straight into the unbelievable true story of 27,000 miles alone, and exactly how one young sailor navigated his way straight into maritime history. Section 1. Standoff in the Indian Ocean. To really grasp the intensity of this journey, we've got to start right in the thick of the action. Picture this. It's October 2008. We're roughly 250 kilometers off the Indonesian coast, out near the extremely remote Cocos Islands. The isolation out here is total. And suddenly, a terrifying standoff starts unfolding on the open water. Just think about the sheer, terrifying difference in scale here. On one side, you have a massive 70-foot wooden fishing vessel flying absolutely no flags. Its origins, unknown. Its intentions, also totally unknown. On the other side is a tiny 36-foot sailboat. The larger vessel starts aggressively maneuvering, deliberately shadowing the smaller boat. And the captain at the helm of that tiny sailboat, Zac Sunderland, a kid who was just 16 years old at the time. As this massive, unflagged ship bears down on him, Zac quickly realizes exactly what's happening. He's being targeted by pirates. Now, this wasn't some Hollywood movie, right? This was his terrifying, immediate reality. So what does he do? He pulls out a revolver, loads it, locks himself inside the tiny cabin of his boat, and braces for an imminent boarding. He sits there in this agonizingly tense standoff. And then, after what must have felt like an absolute eternity, the larger vessel just kind of loses interest and speeds off into the horizon. This one terrifying afternoon perfectly sets up the incredible, heart-pounding stakes of the 13-month solo circumnavigation we're unpacking in today's explainer. Section 2. Preparing the Intrepid. Okay, but before you can survive a pirate encounter in the Indian Ocean, you actually have to get there, right? And Zac's path to getting there was pretty unbelievable. $6,000. That's it. He didn't have some massive corporate backing or a multi-million-dollar custom racing yacht. He literally used $6,000 of his own personal savings to buy his boat, which he named the Intrepid. Now, the Intrepid was a standard 36-foot Islander, built way back in 1972. You guys know these boats. They were designed as coastal cruisers for nice weekend trips, definitely not as high-latitude expedition vessels built to cross massive oceans. Because it was originally just a coastal cruiser, doing some serious retrofitting was absolutely non-negotiable. Working side by side with his dad, who happened to be a shipwright, they completely overhauled the thing. They reinforced the hull, drastically upgraded the standing rigging to handle punishing ocean storms, and slapped on a custom array of solar panels. But maybe the single most vital piece of equipment they added was the wind vane self-steering gear. This mechanical setup was a total game changer. It was critical because it meant our solo sailor could actually get some sleep while the boat mechanically steered itself and kept them on course. Section 3. Mapping the global choke points. All right, with the Intrepid finally outfitted, it was time to chart a course. And man, charting this course is where the extreme hazards really come into focus. Consider the strategic contrast here. We know traditional non-stop racers usually dive deep down into the freezing, treacherous Southern Ocean just to round Cape Horn. Zac, though, he opted for a westward route. His main goal was to maximize those following trade winds to push his smaller boat along. But this strategy came with a massive trade-off. It exposed him to severe geopolitical and navigational hazards. I mean, we're talking about sailing right through dense reefs and waters notorious for piracy, the exact stuff standard racers completely avoid. Let's walk chronologically through this relentless gauntlet of choke points. Step 1 took him across the vast Pacific, all the way to the Marshall Islands. Step 2, carefully threading the needle through the incredibly dense, reef-strewn waters of Papua New Guinea and northern Australia. Step 3 was the massive, lonely expanse of the Indian Ocean, which is, of course, where he met our pirates. Step 4 meant rounding the notoriously volatile Cape of Good Hope right at the tip of Africa. And finally, Step 5 involved transiting the Panama Canal before making the long run up the Mexican coast. It was just a relentless gauntlet of diverse, punishing environments. Which brings us to Section 4, Storms, Failures, and Survival. Plunging right into the true crucible of the voyage, this timeline really puts the massive scope of his journey into perspective. It all kicked off on June 14, 2008. That's when a 16-year-old Zac left Marina del Rey, California, instantly staring down a 23-day solo passage to Hawaii. But things hit critical snags pretty quickly by September 2008 with some major Pacific system failures. From there, it leads right into that Indian Ocean crucible in October, tracks him rounding the Cape in early 2009, and wraps up with his triumphant return on July 16, 2009. Let's zoom in on that first major hurdle back in September 2008. Early in the voyage, while pushing toward Darwin, Australia, mechanical failures violently threatened to derail the whole expedition. The Intrepid suffered a faulty bilge pump. And to make matters even worse, Zac encountered severe fuel contamination issues. Talk about a nightmare scenario. These dual crises forced him to make an emergency, totally unplanned stop in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, just to save the vessel from going down. Now, to really understand the danger that was coming for him next, we need a quick anatomy lesson. You guys probably already know this, but a forestay is the heavy rigging wire supporting the mast from the front, or the bow of the boat. It's highly structural. If that forestay snaps, the entire mast can come crashing down, completely and utterly disabling the sailboat. Keep that catastrophic risk in the back of your mind. Because on October 13, 2008, literally just after escaping that harrowing pirate standoff near Indonesia we talked about earlier, Zac got absolutely hammered by a massive storm. We are talking sustained 25-knot winds and towering 10-foot seas. The sheer violence of the ocean snapped the Intrepid's boom and broke the tiller right off. But the absolute worst part, that crucial forestay began to fail. Zac had to stay awake for days in these violently pitching conditions, desperately working to jury-rig a solution to the forestay so he wouldn't lose his mast and be left totally adrift. Finally, let's look at Section 5, the reality of seamanship. Moving past sheer survival mode, it's time to look at the resolution of this incredible feat. Against all the odds, Zac successfully navigated the notoriously treacherous Agulhas Current off the coast of South Africa. He made these short, careful hops to round the Cape of Good Hope safely. And then, on July 16, 2009, he arrived triumphantly back in Marina del Rey, California. After 13 months and 2 days alone at sea, a now 17-year-old Zac Sunderland officially claimed the historic record as the youngest person to ever sail solo around the world. And here is the ultimate takeaway from this entire explainer. When something breaks thousands of miles from port, you fix it with what you have on board, or you lose the vessel, period. For a maritime audience like us, this isn't just a feel-good, coming-of-age story. It's a gritty testament to the relentless reality of seamanship. Zac didn't survive extreme sleep deprivation, failing navigation gear, and massive structural damage just through some kind of blind look. No way. He's survived through systematic problem-solving and an incredibly intimate, hands-on understanding of his boat's mechanics. So, I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. When systems fail thousands of miles from port, could you fix them with only what you have on board? Zac Sunderland's journey proves that survival out there isn't just about courage. It's about deep preparation, practical knowledge, and unwavering mechanical grit. Think about your own skills. How would you fare out there on the solitary sea? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep that curiosity alive.